Welcome into another video. It is officially that time of year, guys. It is predictions time. We are officially 2 weeks away from NFL opening night where the Seahawks take on the New England Patriots. And today we are going to be kicking it off with the NFC West, arguably the best division in football. The Seattle Seahawks are the defending Super Bowl champions. The Los Angeles Rams are the heavy current Super Bowl favorites. The 49ers had a big offseason loading up to take on those two juggernauts. And of course, you got the Arizona Cardinals who are entering a new era. All four of those teams we are going to break down and go through today. Let's get right into it with the NFC West predictions. And the first team that we're going to talk about today is the Arizona Cardinals. In 2025, the Arizona Cardinals saw the end and final pieces of multiple eras. First being the Jonathan Gannon era, which sort of seemed doomed from the start. He kind of took over a declining roster, tried to turn it around, and it eventually exploded in his face. Just couldn't get enough done. Next up, the Kyler Murray era, which was once very promising. They let him go. They let him walk this season. He signs with the Minnesota Vikings. They are turning the page on this franchise, bringing in Mike LaFleur, building up this young core of players and building on that for the future. But let's talk about 2026 and their current roster outlook. They were busy this offseason adding Tyler Algier, Isaac Seumalo, Roy Lopez, and then Carson Beck and Jeremiah Love, some key pieces through the draft. They did lose Kyler Murray, Calais Campbell, Calvin Beachum, Dalvin Tomlinson. But let's talk about their four key players one by one. Jeremiah Love, Paris Johnson Jr., Walter Nolan, and Will Johnson. Starting with Jeremiah Love, the Cardinals' number 3 overall pick in the first round has to be the main focal point of this season, in my opinion. You invest a top 3 pick into a running back. You avoid taking an edge rusher. You avoid taking another offensive lineman or trading back. You go with the running back. He now needs to be battling with Trey McBride as the number 2 option in this offense. Obviously, spread the ball, spread the wealth. There's tons of opportunity to go around, but I think we need to kind of start moving past the Marvin Harrison Jr. era. He's still a valuable piece, but if we're talking about the number 1 and 2 weapons, Jeremiah Love and Trey McBride, those are your 1-2 punch, especially in today's NFL where the run game success is the best it's been in years. The tight end usage is up year after year after year. They're building that foundation in Arizona right now. Next up, let's talk about Paris Johnson Jr. The 4th-year left tackle is quietly going under the NFL radar. I don't think he's reached his peak yet, which the Cardinals drafted him at 6 overall to hit, but I think he is close. Mobile, athletic, he's a freak. They're still working out contract situation there, but I think that this is somebody who's going to really break onto the scene finally, piece it all together this year, and be their cornerstone left tackle for years to come. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, though, there's 2 players that I want to highlight, and that's Walter Nolan and Will Johnson. Walter Nolan, at this point, has just been flashes. He only got to see 6 games of work last year, but he's a violent player, a physical player, a lot of raw talent still there, though. He needs to hone it in this year, really take a step forward for that to be a successful pick. And then Will Johnson, he is like a breakout candidate for me. I think this is somebody who's going to explode onto the scene this year. He had a really solid rookie year. The one true Cardinals game that I got to watch start to finish was against the Atlanta Falcons, and it felt like he was really putting clamps on one of the best wide receivers in football, and that is Drake London. He is a sticky player, athletic player, can make plays on the ball. I think he's going to slowly and quietly become one of the better corners in football. He's a breakout candidate for me this year. Now let's go ahead and hop into my prediction for the Arizona Cardinals, and unfortunately I have them at 3-14 this year. Their line set at 3.5. Have them going slightly under that, which is rare, but they are playing in such a tough division. And the weapons of this roster are in place. And I do think that the left side of the ball, including center, are really solid groups for the Arizona Cardinals. I think their left side of the line with Paris Johnson Jr., Isaac Seumalo, and then Froholt at center, just signing his 2-year extension yesterday. They've got that locked in with a good group of weapons. I have very little faith in their quarterback play, and to be honest with you, I have very little faith in the brain trust set in place right now with Mike LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett. I wasn't overly fond of the Mike LaFleur hire. I don't think he's shown enough in the league outside of just being with the McVay tree on his own and kind of riding coattails, if I'm being honest with you. Nathaniel Hackett really hasn't done much since Green Bay either. So I'm worried about the brain trust, but I do think that this team is set up at least for a great draft pick in 2027, which is what you should want as Cardinal fans. You should want to be competing for the number one overall pick with the weapons that you have in place and the line that you're building. When Chase Basantis comes back and he can slide in at right guard, you're just a few pieces away from having an explosive offense with the right brain trust in mind as well. We'll see how Mike LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett hold up in year one. If they can survive a season like 3-14, like I expect them to be, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Let's get into my next team, though, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are coming off a stellar year where they were able to finish with 12 wins despite multiple key injuries on both sides of the ball, players missing time all throughout the year. I do not know how Kyle Shanahan did not win Coach of the Year last year, but that's besides the point at this rate. It's a big year for the San Francisco 49ers. They had a good offseason, but they have to go against these two juggernauts, like I said, the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, who are the defending Super Bowl champions. Now, a lot of that is going to be reliant on the stars like George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, who continues to make a name for himself in this league, but they're going to need help in other areas as well if they want to dethrone either of those teams. Let's go ahead and take a look at the roster outlook. It wasn't a detrimental offseason for the 49ers, only losing Juwan Jennings, Bryce Huff, D. Winters. They were able to make some moves, landing Mike Evans in free agency, bringing back Dre Greenlaw, landing Osa Odigizua via trade, drafting Deshaun Stribling. But let's talk about my four key players that are going to be very important for this team's success in 2026. That's Mike Evans, Deshaun Stribling, Nick Bosa, and Mykel Williams. Now, why I chose two wide receivers is simple. Over the last two seasons, they haven't gotten much out of the wide receiver position. Ricky Pearsall's been hurt. Juwan Jennings has been reliable, but he's never been a focal point in this offense. They haven't done much since losing Deebo Samuel at that position, and they bring in Mike Evans. It's a big one. You know, they put a lot of money into him, and he's 33 years old. Same with Deshaun Stribling. His blend of size and speed and his flashes that we've seen in the preseason could be huge for the San Francisco 49ers offense this year. Somebody who can really extend the field and be a threat down the field only opens things underneath for Christian McCaffrey, for George Kittle, for Mike Evans. So I think that those two players being healthy and playing good football this year is very important to make this 49ers offense run, especially when having to overcome the Rams and the Seahawks. And now we're going to talk about Mykel Williams and Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa only played in 3 games last year before tearing his ACL. Same thing with Mykel Williams. Only 6 games later, he tore his ACL, and he's looking a little bit on the darker side of an outlook to be coming back. But regardless, he's going to come back at some point this season, and he was the number 11 overall pick in last year's draft. Nick Bosa, former Defensive Player of the Year, but it's been a couple seasons since we've seen him hit that double-digit sack mark. He needs to get back to that elite form. They need to get something out of Mykel Williams this year, whether that's moving him inside or not. They need to get something out of him. This is a team that was dead last in sacks in 2025 with 20. That is 6 less to the next closest person. They need to get something out of Bosa and Williams this year. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get to Stafford. You're not going to be able to get to Darnold. You're not going to win those games. It's as simple as that. Let's go ahead and get into my 2026 prediction for the team, though. And I have them at 10-7. Yes, I do have them slightly above their Vegas line of 9.5, which to me, honestly, this could be very low. The 49ers have Super Bowl aspirations and a Super Bowl ceiling if everything clicks for them. But I have a right to be concerned if everything's going to click. I do think it's unfair to bring injuries into account when talking about a team's potential success. But when you have the history of Mike Evans and his hamstrings, Christian McCaffrey had 416 touches last year. History is not kind to players the following year after putting up those kind of touches. George Kittle, 30-something years old, coming off an Achilles tear. I'm not saying that they can't perform at a high level. Like I said, I do think this team has a Super Bowl ceiling, but especially on the other side of the ball, how do we know that Nick Bosa is going to come off this ACL injury and be right back into form? How do we know that Michael Williams is going to move beyond his raw talent and really progress and take a step forward this year after coming off an ACL? This team won 12 games without a lot of players last year. I'm not saying they can't do it again. I think Kyle Shanahan is a genius. 10 wins seems fair. I have them above their win total, and I am worried about this one. I do think that this team very well could be battling for a Lombardi in February if everything clicks. I just have doubts about it clicking this year. Let's go ahead and move into my next team, though, and that is the Seattle Seahawks, the defending Super Bowl champions, baby. Their magical run in 2025 was one for the ages. Nobody really saw that coming, but now they're tasked with one of the hardest things to do in the NFL, and that is defending your Super Bowl championship. Only two teams since the 2002 NFL expansion have been able to do that, and that is the legendary dynasty New England Patriots and the legendary dynasty Kansas City Chiefs. So Seattle needs to be up for the task for a tough year ahead of them. The Rams really went out there and got better. The 49ers got better. Let's go ahead and dive into their roster outlook for 2026. It was definitely more subtraction than addition for the Seahawks this offseason, losing Super Bowl MVP Ken Walker, Boya Mafe, Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen, having to really retool that secondary. But let's talk about their four key pieces, and that is rookie first-round pick Jadarian Price, year 3 tight end A.J. Barner, Byron Murphy, and second-year nickelback Nick Eamon-Wari. Kicking it off with Jadarian Price. To me, the Jadarian Price pick was a bit of a reach. I was not that high on Price. He was my RB2 for sure, but I viewed him more as a late second, early third round player. I do think it was a bit of a reach, but that's okay. This roster is in a position to kind of take swings like that, despite some of their key losses in the offseason. In running back was a position of need after the loss of Ken Walker, and it was a massive part of their success in 2025. So I understand that, but Price needs to perform this year. Pick 32. You put a first-round pick into a player, especially at running back, I expect immediate results. So it's a big year for the rookie. Next up, we got A.J. Barner, and you can see that sleeping emoji on his picture. I think this is one of the more slept-on players in the NFL who is due for a potential breakout. Not only is A.J. Barner one of the best blocking tight ends in football, we really started to see him come on in the second half of last year as a receiving tight end. If he can continue to work and grow his game as a pass catcher, there is really no ceiling for this player in terms of the dual threat ability of what a tight end is supposed to do, especially in today's game where it's more important now than ever. I mean, him, George Kittle, Jackson Hawes, I think that's where you're looking at for elite blocking tight ends. Barner is one of those guys, and now he is expanding as a pass catcher. I love this player. Moving into the defensive side of the ball, though, Byron Murphy, one of the more slept-on players of this defense, just because he doesn't have a sexy stat line. He is one of the best interior, at least young interior movers in football. This guy is a brick wall, a stout run defender. His athletic ability and his flexibility are insane, really. I mean, he can get low and just hold firm and eat up that pocket. I think that Byron Murphy over the next few years, especially when you see his contract coming up and what he ends up getting paid, he's going to be a lot more of a bigger asset and a more talked about name than he is right now. He's one of the best interior young defenders in all of football. And then Nick Eamon-Wari, I mean, can we talk about the rookie year for the big nickel, which is a growing position in this game? Nick Eamon-Wari's size and speed coming out of South Carolina really needed to be honed in. And there was one guy in mind that I thought was perfect for him, and it was Mike Macdonald. And we really started to see that towards the end of last year, him developing into this amoeba-style player, do-it-all kind of player. He's a freak of nature. I'm so excited to see the ceiling on this player and what he can become in this defense because he has rare traits. And if Mike Macdonald can continue to get this player to grow year after year after year, he's a through-the-roof player in the secondary, and he's going to have a bigger role this year. They lose Kobe Bryant, they lose Tariq Woolen. Bud Clark, their second-round pick, had a very serious injury. He's going to be moved all around this defense, and he's going to need to perform, and I think he's going to. I'm so excited about Nick Eamon-Wari. Now, let's go ahead and get into my predictions for the defending Super Bowl champions this year, and that is 11-6, just slightly above their Vegas line of 10.5. It took a lot for me to lock in the Seattle Seahawks over the San Francisco 49ers this year. Everything trends towards kind of a decline. One, just Super Bowl hangover history in general. Two, some very key losses, especially the loss of Clint Kubiak as well. That was, could be very detrimental to the success of this organization. But like I said, I like what they're building. I like what they have in place, especially defensively. I think Jadarian Price can fill in nicely in this offense and run the ball hard and well. I think Sam Darnold has proven that he can lead a scoring offense when paired with an elite defense. He's done it in back-to-back seasons now. He's going to need to play better than he did in the second half of last year, but at the same time, in the second half of last year, they won the fucking Super Bowl. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. It's a step backward from what they were in 2025, but they're still a damn good ball club, and I still think that they're going to be touting out a top-5 defense with a borderline top 10 offense this year, and that's a recipe for success. Now let's go ahead and get into the final team to talk about in the NFC West, and that is the Super Bowl favorites, the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, there's no denying that they have the opportunity to be the greatest football team ever assembled right now. I mean, the moves that they made this offseason have put them in a position to be the Super Bowl favorites by a wide margin. Let's go ahead and dive into the amazing roster outlook of the Los Angeles Rams for 2026. Like I said, a lot of addition here. Myles Garrett, Trent McDuffie, obviously other key pieces like Ty Simpson, who is the eventual potential successor of Matthew Stafford. But they also bring in Jalen Watson, a massive addition to their cornerback room. Let's talk about the 4 key players here. And you can tell it's a little bit different from the other 3 teams' 4 key players. It's Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Myles Garrett, and Trent McDuffie. With Matthew Stafford, it was this time last year where we were all worried about his back injury and wondering if he could even play in 2025. Then he goes out there and he wins the MVP. We need a lot more of that in 2026. He needs to stay healthy, avoid any injuries, and play MVP level football. Puka Nacua as well, somebody who needs to stay on the field and stay healthy and go out there and be himself because he's a superstar level talent on the defensive side of the ball. The 2 big additions, the best nickelback in football, arguably, in Trent McDuffie, a massive, massive addition to this team, who kind of was, their weakest link was their secondary. They bring in the best nickelback in football. This dude was winning first-team All-Pros behind a really damn good defensive line in Kansas City. This is the best defensive line he's played behind. This dude's clamps. Like, he's going to be so money this year. And then Myles Garrett, the defensive player of the year, bringing in a sack record, future first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best defenders of a generation, to an already borderline top 5 defensive line that was with Jared Verse. You swap the 2. You have Kobe Turner. You have Byron Young there. 2 phenomenal young players paired with the Depoy. The ceiling is truly unlimited for this team. Let's go ahead and get into the prediction. And I got them at 13-4. Their line's at 11.5 tied for the first most in the NFL, and I got them about 1.5 above that. The only thing that can stop this team is themselves. I mean, in reality, it's injuries and just poor play. Otherwise, like I said, they have the chance to be the greatest team in the history of the NFL. Is that going to happen? I doubt it. 13-4 is not an overly, sexy greatest team ever record. It's a great record, but it's not a sexy greatest team of all time record. With that being said, though, that's why I went with those 4 players as my 4 key players, because if those 4 guys are playing at the best of their abilities, I don't think that there's a team in the NFL that can stop them. And there you have it. That is my NFC West predictions for 2026. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we got the AFC West and then 6 more divisions to follow. We also have, right leading up to game time of the Patriots and Seahawks 2 weeks from today, we got videos coming out days prior to that. Super Bowl predictions, playoff predictions, awards predictions. So like, subscribe, comment down below if you love the NFL and you love these predictions. Comment down below what I got wrong. What you disagree with. Let's talk some healthy conversations in the chat. We'll talk soon. Peace.